Hey guys, I'm Kaitlyn, a Master Zerg from Toronto, and this video is going to show you how you can build a protoss that walls in your main with 1 pylon and 2 3x3 buildings on Daedalus Point. This build was already used twice in Code A, once by Ruin against Sleep, and once by Trust against Symbol. So first I'm going to go over the protoss build order so that we can really understand what we're up against and spot any vulnerabilities with it. Then I'm going to go over simple scouting on Daedalus Point in the early game. Then I will showcase some footage of a strategy that you might be tempted to do, but you shouldn't. And then lastly, I'm going to go over a build that Symbol used in GSL to win against this Protoss build, and which I've also used successfully. Protoss begins by pulling a probe at the start of the game, so they can build their first pylon in your natural. Next, they build a gateway and a forge to wall off your main base. This is past the unbuildable plates. They make a cannon on 14, and then reinforce the wall with more buildings. Note that Protoss has to outsource their cyber core to the wall because they don't have a pylon at home yet. Protoss will then build sentries out of the gateway in your natural to force field Zerg units from attacking the wall, and they will build additional cannons as necessary. Rally your first overlord to your opponent's natural. This is really standard in the ZvP matchup. Then send your second overlord straight to your own natural. It'll pass over the wall of its building around 1 minute and 35 seconds, at which point you can reroute your first overlord straight to your opponent's main. At a little past 13 supply, begin scouting inside your base for 2-gate proxy. This way, the drone will be able to scout 2-gate proxy over in this corner of your natural in time for you to respond with 14 pool. If this drone ends up scouting a pylon at the bottom of your ramp, you'll actually have time to block the placement of the forge for a bit. Going for the pylon with the drone pole is risky because the zealot can be chronoed out to deal with the pulled drones, and the probe can throw up more pylons. Personally, I don't pull drones versus 2 proxy gate, which this could become at any time, so I simply delay the forge placement with 1 or 2 drones for as long as I could, but this isn't necessary. You can just respond to this build with your second overlord when it scouts the wall at 1 minute and 35 seconds. So when you're playing against this, you may be tempted to just bust out of the contain with a sizable force of roaches. Don't do this. The Protoss player will be building sentries to wall off your roaches from leaving your ramp, or cutting them into manageable chunks for the cannons below, and they will also be able to add more cannons at the bottom of your ramp.
He's losing to the pylon. Okay, sorry, my bad. Yeah, he targets the pylon. There was now the stalkers are here. Would have been a must-have. Yeah. Look at Sleep. He's just not even doing anything. GG!
So you want to know how to fight back if you get walled in. Well, the solution is actually something that Zerg players used to do before unbuildable plates were in the game, where you could wall off someone's main with just 3 pylons on the low ground, and that is a Nydus worm with roaches. Except this build is even more susceptible to the Nydus worm because Protoss has to invest so much more into the wall and at an earlier time. Ideally, you want to get a 14 gas and then a 14 pool against this build, which is what Symbol does after he scouts the wall in with his second overlord, but if you scout the wall in past this point, just throw down a gas and then a pool as soon as possible. After you begin your 14 gas and 14 pool, drone up to 14 and make an overlord, then wait for your pool to finish. Rally this overlord to your opponent's natural. That way you'll have the option to either Nydus their main, or their natural if the main Nydus gets discovered. When your pool is finished, make 1 queen and 2 sets of Lings. The Lings are made in case the Protoss player makes a unit out of the gateway at the base of your ramp and rallies it into your base. Also, keep your second overlord above your ramp so that you can keep an eye on the progress of the wall, in case the Protoss does anything tricky. Now drone to 22 and make a Lair immediately after your queen is done, which happens around 184 gas or the 4-minute mark. Take an additional gas with this Lair. As a side note, making your Lair at a gas surplus is part of the build, as it allows you to make a Nydus network and 5 roaches right when the Lair completes, so don't begin your gas later to compensate for the queen build time. Replace the drone lost to the gas geyser and get an overlord at 22, followed by a Roach Warren. At this point, you should have 11 drones on minerals and 6 on gas, for 17 drones total. While your Lair is building, get your first overlord into position around the edge of the Protoss's main base, keeping an eye on where they place pylons, so that you know where you can put a Nydus swarm out of vision range. Overlords have 11 sight, finished pylons have a sight range of 9, and probes have a sight range of 8. Use this knowledge to your advantage. Your Lair should complete around 520. Immediately make a Nydus Network and 5 sets of Roaches. You should be at 30 out of 34 supply if you haven't lost any units. Then make a Queen and an Overlord. Once the Nydus Network has finished, either make a Nydus in their base if you found a good spot for it, or just make it in their natural. Bring the Roaches, Queens, and Lings into your Nydus swarm. Don't stop unit production, prioritizing Roaches and making Zerglings and Queens with excess minerals. Kill the pylons powering their gateways, and re-Nydus if your original Nydus gets killed. They will likely bring their mothership core to your base, so you'll have a good period of time to kill probes without getting photon overcharge. If or when the photon overcharge is activated while you're attacking, kill army units and then probes under it. If units run away, chase them at a reasonable distance, but if it's just probes, then focus the Nexus. Alright, so I really hope that this helps you Zergs if you run into this strategy on ladder. And if you found this video helpful, I would also really appreciate it if you liked it or followed me on Twitter. And of course, good luck and have fun.
Natural, of course, as well.
It's too late. He's going to have a couple of Roaches in the base, and that's all he needs.
That's all he needs.
But what are you going to do?
No,
The second Nydus already coming up behind the mineral line. I'm going to kill the Nexus, so I kill your probes. Take a pick.
GG.